Veterans Day 2020 is here. As we celebrate the men and women who have served in our great nation, the students of Belpre High School would like to thank all the veterans everywhere, and especially those in our local community. Today you'll meet 3 of these veterans. We'll ask them questions about their time in service, what it was like, and what it all meant to them.
Yeah, Chad Williams, United States Air Force. I joined back in '96, and back then I was on what they called a waiting list. So I'd go, and I'd already did all my processing, and if there was a spot, then you automatically left out of Charleston and went straight to San Antonio, Texas, to the basic training. So I went 1 week and didn't go, so I came back. I actually went up twice, 2 weekends in a row, and never got sent. So by that point I was thinking, man, I'm never going to get to go. And the third time I didn't even tell my parents that I had to go, because I'd already told them twice, and it just seemed like it was best that I was probably coming back. So went up there, and I wasn't even really prepared, because I was prepared to come back home, but they called my name, and I got to board, and the rest was history. So it was really unexpected, but expected. So it was kind of neat how it worked out.
My name is Francis David WHIPKEY, named after both my grandfathers, and I was in the United States Marine Corps. It was September the 4th, 1958. And I went to Parkersburg. My brother rode me down on a motorcycle to Parkersburg, and I just had a big fight with my girlfriend then, so I couldn't find the recruiting station for the Foreign Legion. So I found the United States Marine Corps, and I took the test and went to Charleston, took the physical in Ashland, Kentucky, and from there went on to Parris Island, South Carolina. And that girl that I had the big fight with ended up being my wife for 57 years so far, and counting.
Robert E. Miller. I was in the Navy, Air Force. It was actually, they don't have a Air Force, but the Navy has an area in which they use planes. And I was in the Navy for 3 years, and I was in a PBM, big Navy seaplane bomber. I just graduated from high school the second week in June, and the 28th of June I got my draft papers. And I was living in Dayton, Ohio, and they took us by train to Columbus to put us in the Navy. And when they actually ask you, when I went through the line, what do you want? You want the Marines, you want the Army, or do you want the Navy?
So I kind of transitioned from the pararescue to the service squadron and did search and recovery. I was stationed in Tampa, Florida at MacDill Air Force Base. It's the 6th Air Refueling Wing. So I was there, and from there I get deployed. It was tough. It was just, seeing things and things like that you'll never forget. At the same time, you have a mission that you're already trained for, so you kind of don't recall a lot of things until after it's done, and then you start playing it back. But it was very intense, and of course, when you're over in the Middle East, it obviously ramps up a lot more. I spent a lot of time at Diego Garcia Island. It's in the middle of the Indian Ocean. It was actually called Camp Justice when 9/11 hit. It was actually the first tent camp set up for the Air Force, and it was set up at Diego Garcia Island, and I got to go in and help set that up and get everything running, and all the missions that were taken place in Afghanistan, everything went through the island. It went by fast, so I still have contact with a lot of my service buddies, and I won't forget most of them for the rest of my life.
I served two different times in the Marine Corps. My job, the first hitch, was just communications in the field with Morse code, working out in the field and operating radios and establishing networks with different units and whatever. They shipped me to Cuba, and Castro was threatening to overrun the base, and they sent us there to reinforce them and set up a radio network between there and Homestead, Florida. I went to another school in Imperial Beach, California, for schooling in intelligence work. It was different, and I'm not supposed to say a lot about that, but it was very interesting work, and I enjoyed it. And they called that in the Marine Corps spatial radio operator. After I left there, I came home, got a job at Marbon Borg Warner, got married, had 2 small children, and Vietnam was heating up and all the protests were going on, and it really, really disturbed me because we were getting people killed, and we had people back here that was protesting against everything, and my protest was against the protesters, was to protest and volunteered to go to Vietnam. And I went back in as a what's called a grunt in the Marine Corps, which if you ever walked around with a pack and all the gear on you, you know what a grunt means. But I went back in as a rifleman. We landed in Da Nang at night. The next morning they assigned us different units, and I went to 2nd Battalion, 9th Marines, 3rd Marine Division, which is up on the DMZ of North Vietnam and South Vietnam.
Well, I was a head radio on that, and also the starboard side, which is the right side of machine gun. So we had 8 50 caliber machine guns equipped with the plane. The wingspan on this plane was 118 feet. That's how big it was. And a 12-man crew, 3 pilots, 4 gunners, 3 radiomen, and 2 mechanics. I was trained at Jacksonville in the PBY, but then they sent me back, and for 6 weeks we went out and flew that plane there, and there they sent me back to San Diego, and from there we flew to Hawaii, and we're ready for the war. We took a brand new PBM and flew it to the war zone. We took this plane and landed it at Manila because we had just captured, we just knocked the Japanese out of Manila, and so we took over. And I can remember the day, there wasn't a building standing in Manila. It had been bombed so much that it was just flat. Not a building. Our plane, we had several missions. We did convoy work, looked for submarine periscopes, so that we could let them know that there's a submarine there. And then we bombed and strafed, and we liberated Borneo, and of course, I don't know it, but there's 800 islands in the Philippines, and we cleaned out wherever the Japanese were. We cleaned them out of those islands.
It's an honor to me. I feel honored that I was able to have the opportunity to go and serve my country. The biggest takeaway I have of serving is being able to go to the Middle East a few times deployed, and you know, those that don't have that opportunity have different opinions about things. You know, maybe we shouldn't be over there, but for me, seeing it firsthand, I seen an awful lot of, you know, Arabians or Iraqians or whatever that, you know, were thankful that we were there because they wanted the peace. So it was kind of worth it seeing those faces and be able to communicate with them and feel like we were wanted there, because I felt like there was a lot more that wanted our protection, wanted us there, than there were that wanted us gone. So I'm thankful that I was able to have that opportunity.
Proud. I think it's the greatest country in the world. I think I'm just very, very proud to have the privilege of serving, and it's just, I don't think anybody, life is pretty well what you make it, and sit around complaining and looking for faults isn't going to do you any good. I think this country gives you the freedom to go as far in whatever direction you want to. And if you don't, then it's your problem, not the country's or somebody else's.
I tell you, I'm probably one of the luckiest persons in the world because I grew up poor, and I got 3 degrees in Ohio State. So nobody say I couldn't appreciate it, because I do appreciate it very much. I wouldn't have amounted to, I probably would have never amounted to anything if I hadn't been in the war.
Thank you for